Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kita ini mau coba bahas ini guys, pembalap muda Indonesia yang sedang lagi naik daun banget ini guys. Nah, jadi Veda Ega Pratama. Jadi sekarang ini lagi di Moto3 ya guys ya. Kita coba buat konten untuk lihat dan bagi pengetahuan hasil-hasil Veda ini di Moto3. Kita coba lihat langsung aja videonya dari Brazil untuk free practice guys. Check it out.
It was on the line, but I think it would have been maybe a tad harsh to give Almanza a penalty, but there was a very fine line between what he did and then stepping over the mark.
Yeah, I think I called it live as saying it was on the limit, and I've not seen anything since then to change my mind on that. I would not have wanted to see a Moto3 victory change hands for a move like that, because ultimately, as you say, Max Kila's dicking up the inside in the end. There was a width of a Pirelli front tyre to go through. Max Kila's found that gap. I would have probably had a little bit of a word with David Almanza just to say, look,
that okay, I'm not expecting Almanza to challenge Quiles all the way for the title, but to get your first win at the start of the season
on the ground, but really impressive. So an interesting one with Almanza, because Quiles is from a region of so Murcia as well. We've had problems in Argentina, we had teething problems in the United States, we've had problems in the United
Wash away some of this water and get some lap times in. So yeah, excited for this one.
Just back on about Guyana. I was out and about last night with a couple of friends who were down here actually visiting for the Brazilian GP, and we were in a bar, a normal bar, and it turned into a...
do the very same.
Oh, it's like Termas. I know we don't go there anymore, but we're going to be back in Buenos Aires next year, but Termas was just so unique. I mean, nightmare for us, because I know we had a room right next to the main square, didn't we? But
obviously Jerez is a magnificent weekend, because obviously it's the Spanish Grand Prix. We know that over 100,000 fans and more.
How it goes, I know Lewis Sotheby is going to leave and not talk because it's raining, but we are of Moto3 action. 45 minutes, slightly long leaving. He may as well watch the session because he's on with you next. Just here in Guyana, Hakim Danish going out in the rain. Wet. They just needed to sort a few things out to probably clear a bit.
Day that we didn't have any rain. Wednesday was a nice sunny day downtown Guyana. And of course it's on track. So this is Rico Salmela who led them out. Rousset Moodley just behind. A mini back straight, let's call it, before you get to turn 9, which is to have such a low-key weekend physically. So yeah, a real tough opening weekend to the nerves, and then hopefully get going here in Britain. I don't really blame him either.
Must admit, if you did just hear that, it will get me in trouble.
Yeah, I can confirm.
I don't need any help with getting in trouble. I don't know what I'm going to do when I crack open a bottle of champagne. I can't really...
We are expecting that to be a full tilt, full attack mode. It doesn't really do it justice. This drop backs down. This is turn
for and all that to, you know, put the lap together, do a bit. So there is a few undulating, vibey kind of turn 7, 8, 9, 10.
I expect a lot of riders to be making a few mistakes everywhere around the...
Peroni just coming in. It's quite difficult just to get your line, sort of run it out wide, haven't you, to then get you
through, miss the apex at 13 and come
first to top the timesheets with a 52.1. Well, so this is an early halt to the sessions. We stick with
the outside to turn 1 maybe, but
yeah, just in the back of the picture last time we saw him, but he's fit to ride. Just on that, we mentioned David Leaved in a way. I guess that there's a bit of a gap after Austin. Lanetta, after his fall in here in Brazil and in Austin next week as well.
They had a long layoff period after the crash, but was one of those incidents where he crashed in terms of injury, but yeah, ill effects from that one.
Laps so far, Veda Pratama was fastest. Circuit in Brazil, 78 on screen.
Gila is still rocking the black lid. No, his shell hasn't been homologated yet because the new FIM homologation for certain brands.
7-0, we know that Scott is fine. Scott himself last time out, front end of that second group.
This is quite promising, I've got to say, from these early lap example. He's over the curbs, he's tipping it in, and to work out what way to get through on Bertelli here.
To a brand new circuit. I mean, sort of arrived in the paddock and
a little bit of water as Quiles just actually it did Veda in the Honda Team Asia squad.
he looked the case over the last few years, the conveyor belt coming to fifth as well. Outstanding weekend for practice.
But in junior GP on the top 10, reasonably being around Evans' speed just off the back to step up at his first GP and really good for Indonesia as a whole. And good.
Quick word on Casey O'Gorman, who's just going to, once he's got to grips with the Honda, how things were feeling on the bike pre. I know I'm not personally worried about it.
Good opening weekend. The pre-season test at the penultimate round last year, we saw the Paolo Simoncelli squad. He's got a good last year. I do believe he's good in wet weather conditions. He's
up to speed. His first flying lap was already challenge champion. Remember, this is a fresh pay race bikes as Pini now goes. We've been to before. I think when you look at all of the names, we're only one race in. We have to.
No, and I've got to say, when I watched him in pre-season testing, he's proved me and a few other doubters in that squad. They've got they might have certainly good to be in there to get.
To being in that podium fight, being in the victory. Quiles in his rookie season, 9 podiums, 3 victories, and he's only finished out. It's probably something that he'll be wanting to slightly improve. I think Quiles won't be worried too much about him, pretty much no matter where we go. We saw that in Austin, 5th, and of course first time in Thailand, last time out, and he's finishing 3,000s off. But of course, beat him to the line to beat this year.
Uriarte comes today, but this is just going to keep improving and improving. Uriarte flies on by. Let's talk about his teammate if we can. Out the start of 2026, a bit 13. The mud running right down the belly pad, and it's just absolutely terrible. Obvious downpours here, but a bit too much battling with Valentin Peroni. Ajang thought he could run with Almanza and Quiles.
P4 points on the board, opening race was a good in the end. The top 2 of Almanza in the fight for victory, but yeah, he just lost out in the end overall. And Carpe said they had a good feeling on. He comes into this year as one of the favourite. Carpe, of course, riding for Red Bull KTM. There's always expect this year, but Carpe said it's for the win and a good haul of points for Carpe. And he's decent Nick, and he started this year, and then he'll have gained some decent confidence from that.
And he's due in Moto2. So let's talk about the order. But if it is wet, this as it stands with that 1:37.7 directly into Q2, and
over in Thailand, it doesn't read too opening lap. The bike basically cuts out at turn and pushing hard to try and catch up in front at turn 1, and down he went. So battling with the wet conditions here.
I love a clear visor. I know that's something you really like.
Always nice to see dry conditions. Normally it's a dark visor and you can't really know what's going on, and sometimes you get a reminder of it's actually them. Just finishing the point on Buchanan pre-season, continued the momentum into round 1, and a lot more competitive, a lot calmer and a lot more confident. First half of last season we saw him pick up some good results. He picked up a nasty cut, I think it was, the risk of infection, and then had a really nice lad to chat to. And I was really, of course, on Sunday morning, out of his control more season. So fingers crossed that could.
We want him to do well, and we want him to. It's great to have such a range of nationality. The second season, and looking to score more points. Crashing rider, 35 of them. He had he tallied maybe slightly Jaco Morelli, so the CF Mosnariati just getting that a little bit wrong. Goes on to it's going to be a real challenge at the O line, because it looks like there's quite a few fast ones through there. So turn 1, mega gets out of it. We're watching on within the layout. Sure, comes across line and does knock a quarter
from the TV screens that it is still raining. So condition. This is Quiles coming out. Stood up and fire it towards the line through second. Is this lap going to take him anyway? It's a personal bit more time, but good stuff from Quiles. Fantastic crash helmet, I must say. One of my favourite top 5 as well. Yeah, really talk about the track. You mentioned it's still raining, but it really does start pouring down. We'll see how it goes, but the track's like a normal Grand Prix wet track. It's obviously very wet, but doesn't look later proceedings at the start of this weekend for these Moto3 riders to be out on track in the corners. Grip is definitely out there. Yeah, let's say watching on from home, they've done a really good job at
yeah, you know, it is very wet out there. It's getting ready. What would we be on now? Yeah, tuning in, and Elliot York, who's alongside me, and getting ready. That's one way to find if there's grip out on the. Yes, if you are not lucky enough, because we won, unfortunately, just a few teething problems. Sotheby did join us for that, but I can tell you that, well, you'll get the broadcast, a knock-on effect for later on as well. And Max Kilo's on your screen right now, and we'll be back. It was yesterday at around 1 o'clock when we had. Okay, well, maybe we're in for a long afternoon again. 2. I think we're on air at 10 past. Maybe it's you, yeah.
Peony then, unseen, 2 more corners to negotiate for as well. We've got a clear top 2. Proved, yes, the transponder timing screens are light. So Peony, Les and Adrian Fernandez a little bit further behind.
I think he's bailed out of it now. He's going to come into pit lane towards the final corner. Up from under the bridge. Good fun down there. The final 2 to go in Moto3. Top 5, Marco Morelli, Scott Ogden, Casey fresh off his top 5 in his Brody. Championship leader David Almanza there is ahead of Leo Ramasor, Joel Kelso, Mateo but down towards Jesus Rios, who along that for sure. If you're wondering where David Munoz is at broken leg he suffered back in Mandalika. So when David Munoz is fighting fit, he's
left leg still, so yeah, sending our best wishes soon. And then we've got, of course, an extended break back to see him, of course, and you know, fastest riders up at the sharp end every single weekend. Has fixed the niggly from Munoz that he's back on track as soon as possible.
Worth noting, obviously, the situation in the Middle East style, so we're going to have to move that lands, but we will be going to Qatar in November. And viewers, we wish you well, and we hope that some sport back on our screens over there.
Exit a Leopard 1-2 at the top of the turn 6, which is the left-hander of complex, before again it then opens up.
Leopard 1-2 at the moment as well. Very good stuff in the crash helmet, just about to head out on track. Company of Michael Laverty's Grid M-Lav squad. He was chatting away to Jorge Martinez Aspar. The track is dirty or dusty, still to go out. So a lot of experience within that Aspar team. Key people, lots of world titles. It is a learning in that squad.
Absolutely, and it's seen. So Morelli, of course, walking back into, he said, but still, his debut top 10. He said he'd often for all under control, though, on that turn 1 is, because
and
obviously Salma through turn 2 as well. Sorry, front straight here in Guyana. That's going to Morelli. The yellow flags out in sector. It's Ramersdorfer anyway.
It is Ramersdorfer, who's, I was just about to say, a fast.
Yeah.
Keeps it up right there, I tell you, into the vegetation. He did well to get that stop there.
Obviously, spearheading the 658 squad, was impressed with his determination. Obviously, it was difficult, but Ramersdorfer did around about 8 seconds to Eddie O'Shea, who finished in P. Grand Prix, I think, impressed his team manager. And if you're going to invitations on the number 5 coming in,
Super Sport 300 runner-up over the course, it's now called. So the expectation was, but I don't think he did too bad at all in Thailand.
No.
A very reasonable job, and was probably a lot more.
Gorman as well, up inside that top 7 is the Irish squad for a couple of rounds last year, of course, was in the intact squad. Was Casey O'Gorman. P impressed the boss again and impressed those he can get, of course, after last season, but flip-flopping all the way through last year with replacement to go from one machine to another. And speaking to they expect it to be let up in terms of, you know, that was actually in Moto Junior. So it's not an ATM, so kudos to O'Gorman, I think I mentioned, but of course doing it full time, different ways with O'Gorman and Ramersdorfer. We can expect to see that this year.
I was actually, when someone first gave me 9 days ago, Brad Ray, Scott Redding, Kent, who was part of Casey O'Gorman, had a huge in a world championship, which UK very, very difficult, but I'm very happy for the entirety here when he came in as a fill-in rider and straight in the top 10. The technical track full of blind rides back in Buriram.
From where we come from, the UK, the British Talent Cup or the Moto 4 P. 4 points rides in his first 5 races in the rider, let's say, over in Thailand. Was a
3, Veda Pratama up there in that top 5. Rather sharp movement on the exit of the. But Veda Pratama can be very, very proud, and he's going to be right there. Very, 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 very excited. Read it on so far. Obviously, we can't read anything. And muscled his way through on the most recent as well. Is the, if there was ever as well, but solid effort from
P5 Quiles landed in third this year, of course, that Veda Pratama finished second to. Absolutely fantastic. We know an Moto4 Asia Cup champion eventually get Pratama into an experience on obviously before getting to Grand Prix, and yeah, fantastic to see. The Indonesia are in Moto3. Of course, they've got Mario Aji in Moto. I think announced himself as well, one step at a time, of course, in Moto3, and very excited to see what
by a single Indonesian rider. And there have been 60. It's yeah, start attack there. Is actually top draw. Let's get back down to business here on track. But it looks like he's about one or two off that number 51 Red Bull.
Thomas Luthi springs to mind immediately.
Hiroshi Oyal on our comeback to a retro circuit and seeing some bikes on track. 3 minutes to go. He is in 6th place at the moment. Bettelli, Cruces, Kelso, Danisha, Moodley and Matani has any bearing on qualifying, so you just have to wait a little bit to qualify. This session is probably the most important.
Cormac Buchanan, we spoke about him a few years time on that last lap, but good stuff inside that top 3. So it's a KTM 1-2. I just want to reiterate that the grip left ferociously quick. I can't wait to see. It's like a fascinating corner to circuit. They're going to get round to complete that. Jesus Rios, I think it is, was forgot now who was it. The 32.8. So this is really good times going into the weekend. These will all be chalked off before practicing on down sector 1.
Oh, Eddie O'Shea down a gauntlet. It's Eddie O'Shea who's lying down. That's on this is turn 2, isn't it? Yeah, we're all getting a bit familiar. Point scoring finish for Michael Laverty's grid to start the season. We're counting down the second, and we've got a bit of debris on track as well. What is that? Find out.
Front mudguard maybe,
but
sorry, O'Gorman. Yeah.
It's a bit for the front of the tank. You know where the rider's now, it's on the track.
Yeah, O'Gorman clean. Have to collect that at some point. Too much to read into the Dr. Water, the number 51. Really impressive. He's got a lot of time to make up in the final sector. We can go ahead of Ariarte. So it is going to be Brian Ariarte.
Topped in Moto3. I don't checkered flag. So kudos, says that is an all-time lap record. Bit of that session. Guido Pini, who spent most time, but the first session is in. I think it's very when I'm in the hospitality. Lewis Sotheby is already turned into a podcast of 3 lads chatting. An hour of delay, but we hope we kept you entertained. Brazilian GP for Moto3. Esteban Erin Pini with Valentin Peroni, our Argentinian duo on South America session in 19th place. Keso Gorman did have a first yellow flag. That was only because he ran on.
Sekian video kita mengenai Veda Ega. Semoga bisa membanggakan nama Indonesia. Jangan lupa like, komen, dan subscribe, dan kita akan buat video-video selanjutnya. Dan jangan lupa tetap video utama kita ikan. Terima kasih.